Hey everyone, and welcome to Cake. Today we are going to be making this super delicious cinnamon bun inspired cake. If you aren't already, subscribe down below for new baking videos posted every Saturday. We're going to start by preheating the oven to 350 degrees. Then you're going to want to go ahead and prepare 2 cake pans. I like to grease my cake pans by using butter and greasing it thoroughly, and then I like to add about 1/4 cup of flour into the pan and just tap it around until all of the flour has coated the pan evenly. Next, we're just going to go over all of the ingredients you need to make this cake. You need about 4.5 cups of flour, 3 cups of sugar, 1.5 cups of milk, 1.5 cups of butter, about a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1.5 tablespoons of baking powder, as well as about 6 large eggs. Now for the part of the cake that makes it the cinnamon bun flavor, we're going to need about 1/2 cup of brown sugar and 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. Now that we've got all of our ingredients ready, we're going to go ahead and add in the butter as well as the sugar into a large bowl and begin to mix it thoroughly until it's fully combined together. Once the butter and sugar is fully mixed together, we're going to go ahead and start adding in the eggs. I like to do mine one at a time just to make sure that everything is getting incorporated properly. Once all of the eggs are mixed into the butter and sugar, you can go ahead and add in the vanilla and mix that in as well. Now, I seriously underestimated the amount of batter that this made, so I used a bowl that was slightly too small, so here I am just transferring it into a larger bowl so I can add in the rest of the ingredients. Next, we are going to add in the baking powder as well as a little bit of the flour. I don't like to add all of the flour in at once. This makes the batter way too dry and just kind of a pain to deal with. So I like to go back and forth between the milk and the flour just to make sure that the batter stays at an easy consistency to mix. About halfway through, I recommend stopping to scrape down the side of your bowl with a spatula. This just helps to make sure that all the ingredients are getting incorporated properly and there's no chunks of flour or anything being left on the side of the bowl. Now we're just going to bring back the brown sugar and cinnamon that we prepared earlier and go ahead and mix them together to make the cinnamon sugar for the center of our cake. To sprinkle the cinnamon sugar mixture, I'm just using this little tiny container. I'm not even sure what it's really called, but it's got holes in the top for the cinnamon sugar to fall through so they won't come out in clumps. You can either use something similar to what I'm using here, or you also could use just a regular sifter. Now we're just going to begin to scoop the cake batter into the pans we prepared earlier. Don't add enough cake batter to fill the pans right away. We're going to want to add about 1/3 of what you normally would and then stop to spread it out. Once you've got the cake somewhat level, you can go ahead and sprinkle some of that cinnamon sugar that we prepared on top of this layer of cake. Once you're happy with the amount of brown sugar you put on this layer, go ahead and begin to add your next layer of cake batter and repeat the same thing by flattening out and adding another layer of the cinnamon sugar. Then to finish it off, we're just going to go ahead and add our last little bit of cake batter and flatten it again. Then we're going to bake them in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes, depending on your oven. Once the cakes are done baking in the oven, we're going to go ahead and take them out and place them onto a cooling rack to allow them to cool completely before decorating. To decorate this cake, I am taking some of the extra buttercream that I have and placing it in a microwave-safe dish and microwaving it for about 15 to 20 seconds until it becomes like a liquidy consistency. I like to do this before assembling the cake because it gives it a time to cool down a little bit. You don't want to pour it on when it's too hot or else it'll run everywhere and not achieve that drip look that we're after. Now we're going to go ahead and level our cakes by cutting the top off and creating as level as possible of a surface for us to begin decorating and stacking our other cake on top of. Once your cakes are level, we're going to go ahead and start frosting the center of it. Here I'm using the Wilton 4B tip to just go around and make tiny little buttercream stars to give it a more fancy look on the outside. Now that we've got that whole bottom cake covered in buttercream, we're going to go ahead and grab the other cake and flip it upside down so that the bottom of the cake is at the top. Now we're going to bring back that melted buttercream that we set aside that has been cooling and pour it on top of the cake right in the center. Then we're going to take either a knife or an offsetted spatula and begin to move that melted buttercream around closer to the edges until it gets close enough to start dripping off. Once we've got the drip done, we're going to go ahead and begin to pipe some buttercream swirls on the outer edge of the cake using the Wilton 1M tip. Now to finish the cake off, we're going to go ahead and take some of that leftover cinnamon sugar mixture we have and sprinkle it on top of the cake for an extra cinnamon bun look. Once you're done that, the cake is officially finished. So you can see here, once you cut into the cake, you're able to see the layers of cinnamon that were put into the cake batter. This, to me, makes the cake so much cooler because not only is it pretty on the outside, but it's got a fun cinnamon design on the inside as well that really brings that cinnamon bun theme to the cake. That's all for this week's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section below what you would like to see me do next. If you end up giving this recipe a try, also let me know below. I'd love to see your guys' take on the recipe. With that being said, I'll see you guys in next week's video. Bye!